Okay, we're up. We're in.
All right, so here we are at the very last of the about 25 spin rooms that we've stood in throughout this election. I've been to like all but 3 debates, and this was the final one. And the most important part of this was Donald Trump able to? Was he able to win any new voters? Was he able to energize his base? And that's unclear, but one thing he did do that couldn't have helped was that he said that he would have a very difficult time.
All right, we may tell Terrence we may try to do it live.
Exactly what he would do if, in fact, the results didn't go in his favor. So he's not even sure that he would accept the results. And that, of course, is not going to help with independent voters. We're in the spin room right now. Kellyanne Conway is across the way, running the Trump campaign, talking to the media, Rudy Giuliani.
Wait, you got to narrate this guy pushing me.
And there's somebody, Eric, too, who's behind his camera, and Jesse Jackson coming into the room, Rudy Giuliani behind us, and so it goes with these spin rooms. Everybody comes in on the very last night in Las Vegas. A lot of people talking about going to Britney Spears later. A lot of people talking about what happened in this debate. But really, the headline I think coming out of this is Donald Trump refusing to say that he would accept the results. And what's one thing that's really interesting, the very first debate in Cleveland, Donald Trump was asked to take a pledge with the rest of the 17 people who were running for president as Republicans, candidates for president as Republicans, take a pledge that he would support the nominee. He raised his hand. Tonight he was asked to take on the very last debate to take a pledge. He didn't go there. He wouldn't accept that, and that, I think, is going to cause problems for him tomorrow. He also had Hillary Clinton on her heels on a few questions. It was a little bit of damned if you do, damned if you don't for Donald Trump. He came out on fire with the allegations, with taking the campaign and the issues and talking points as low as he could go in the first 2 debates. Hillary Clinton just sort of ignored that, let it pass, and let Donald Trump sort of deconstruct on his own. What he was able to do tonight was come out with issues, with answers, and still, she was much more prepared for those things than he was, and that was a big issue, for Donald Trump. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. She had the answers. He couldn't win on her field. He couldn't win on his field, and that's a big problem, right? You prove this over Eric right there, the head of the RNC, talking to me now.
Nope, it's not.
No, we've only got today's camera.
What?
We try to adjust frequencies. Is it still bad now?
Okay. Well, we can't hear him.
Roll your tape.
What's that?
We can't hear him.
It's RF. It's RF
So
fucking
what
soup
we're
here.
going to do now is see.
Hi.
I think after this debate, a lot of what has to happen is Donald Trump has to get his base together. I think that's what he tried doing tonight. You heard him talking about Roe v. Wade. You heard him talking about campaign finance, but you also heard him talking about things that would make the Reverend Jackson. Reverend Jackson, what do you think of the debate tonight?
Lady Brown looked for a third party. When the campaign first began, all 17 candidates said they would accept our gun. He would not. Now he's fighting with the Republican establishment. He wants to take the Confederate arm of the Republican Party from the Trump America First Party.
Yeah, you couldn't have picked a better thing to talk about. It's just what I was talking about. The very first debate, he was asked to take a pledge, and in this debate, he was asked to take a pledge. He took it at the first one and didn't take it tonight, did he, Reverend?
He has his own party aspirations.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Jesse Jackson.
One of those pledges is to the Republican Party. The other one is to our country. Basically.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Which one is going to provide more outreach?
Trying to see if Reverend Jackson can get through. Down like this and say hi to everybody. Really is not much we can do right now.
Hey. How are you?
A good civil rights leader standing on our mic.
Oh, and here's the sign.
Really do.
You guys want to talk
Here.
about the big question?
What's that?
We got cited in tonight's debate, second debate in a row.
Say again?
Is Mr. Trump really
Want to talk to the director of the Open Debate Coalition? They were cited in tonight's debate and the last debate.
Ask Michael.
Yeah.
Here,
What's
come on,
that?
sir.
Yeah.
I have to.
Okay. Hey, Turk. So
There we go.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
we
we're
gotta-
free. We're free. Yeah. That's what happens every once in a while. A great civil rights leader steps on your mic cord and you can't do anything about it. So we're still in this debate hall waiting to see if Trump comes in. He's come in almost. I've been to I think 23 of these debates. He's come in almost every time.
Hi. Would you like to talk to Malia Dixon? She's from the Open Debate Coalition. This is the second presidential debate in a row that the bottom-up Open Debate Coalition has been cited as a source for questions.
Okay. Sure. Well, we can ask the question. First of all, tell us about the open debates.
Sure. So the open debate represents a wide range of groups working to so we have groups everywhere from the NAACP to NARAL, Pro-Choice America, to the NRA, who've been promoting questions on our site, which got over 15,000 questions and about 3.7 million votes on questions for the presidential debates. Martha Raddatz used one in the last debate, and tonight Chris Wallace used one in this debate as well.
Which question is Chris Wallace?
Chris Wallace used the question about the Second Amendment. He was asking both of the candidates to talk about their position on guns.
And what happened to the questions on climate change? 4 debates ago.
That's a big question. We have happening in New Hampshire, the U.S. Senate, the governor's race, that are really pure examples of what a true open debate would look like, in which more than half of the questions are elected by the people themselves. So we should be able to see a good example of something like that in New Hampshire debates coming up next week.
When you already know the questions, and I don't mean yeah, understood.
It's a good question. I think that.
By the way, so far I've had 2 good questions, and I didn't even write into the site. So think about that.
So right now, we look at the way of debating as being an opportunity for candidates not only to get out sort of their talking points about the issues that are brought up, but also to actually have a chance to debate each other. And I think that's something that makes the modern version of debates often gets overlooked. So when you have the candidates knowing in advance what some of the questions could be, they don't know which questions are going to be chosen. They know what the pool overall could be. Then they have a little bit of time to prepare those opening remarks and then really get into it a little bit more, debate the actual issues.
And frankly, I mean, they're prepared for all of them, mostly anyway.
Exactly.
Where can they find out more about open debates?
So right now, the New Hampshire debates, people can submit and vote on questions at www.opendebatequestions.com. And they can see all the questions that were eligible to be asked for the presidential campaigns at presidentialopenquestions.com.
Thanks.
It's kind of hard to choose, right? We're including the VP. We're at 50. This is the last one. Honestly, he did absolutely.
Okay, so we got Eric Trump here. This is all Trump's.
We won the debate. Frank Luntz is even saying we won the debate. I mean, all the polling, all the fine testing. There's no question we won. I mean, he did such a great job. He brought the case to her. He talked about so many of her shortcomings, right? So many of the shortcomings, quite frankly, that so many of the moderators didn't talk about in the past. He talked about tonight, and I think he really brought the case to her. And he brought the case about how America's been failing over the last years and how America's been left behind. It's left so many of our citizens behind. And we need to get our country back. We need to get our deficit controlled. We need to get education back. We need to take care of our vets. We need to take care of our military. We have to stop the really bad trade deals that put our country at such a huge disadvantage. We have to bring jobs back to our nation. And he's going to do all of this.
What was the intention of not answering the question about a fair election?
Well, you and I have talked about this before, and I think when you look at the mainstream media and the way they've been covering this election, none of it's been fair, right? None of it's been fair. They haven't put any attention on the WikiLeaks. You have some really bad things in the WikiLeaks. I mean, here you have a major campaign that's making fun of Christians, that's making fun of evangelicals, that's quite frankly admitting that Don Brazil gave Hillary Clinton some of the debate questions ahead of time. It's very scary.
Governor Bailey,
I don't think the election's fair, and I think there's no question that voter fraud exists. There are people. What do you think about the debate tonight? You have to take care of it. And honestly, if you're bitter and at the society, you have to take care of it. And my father was there holding a bar. Thank you.
Hey, Eric.
That's good. I thought you were talking
do you think Americans should accept the results of elections? Yeah, similar question.
So let everyone know you like Syracuse and
You'll remember her. She was the vice presidential candidate 8 years ago, and she's holding forth right now. Kellyanne Conway. Is the elections rigged? Walking by. So it doesn't. For the record, you're in a better spot here, Violet.
All right. I guess if Julian was here, he'd be in this
We would have liked to have heard from Eric Trump a little more.
I did hear what he was saying.
Yeah.
He said that Donald Trump refused to say whether he would accept the outcome of the election because the media is unfair.
Well, Mika's outside, so when you guys are ready.
This is the most unprecedented thing. The first thing that we talked about, the first thing that matters are not just objects. In point of fact, the notion that someone wouldn't accept the outcome of an election just because they think it's rigged when there's no proof that it's rigged is a real problem for the Trump campaign. I think it's a problem in the calculus of putting this together, of making this his coalition stronger. He's not winning people over, which is what he clearly needs to do.
Well, we do have 13 or so southern states who understand not accepting the outcome of the election.
Yeah, that's true, and we have a history in 2000. Process of Eric Trump now in the Trump tent. He's going to go to
Like way over by the door. Daddy
one of the other things that happened tonight is that Donald Trump was given a few opportunities to talk to Hillary Clinton about, for example, the emails. And every time he did that, he would pivot to something else. Going back again to what I was saying earlier, you saw someone who was prepared tonight. Donald Trump was more prepared tonight for this debate than he had seemed, certainly in the past. And his preparation, though, was met with Hillary Clinton's preparation. Things came off the top of her head. She looked like she might have even been reading some of the answers, but she was prepared. So it doesn't matter whether she was reading it, whether she had it at hand. And I think that when Donald Trump was met with that, it was a big problem for him. He thought, I can come in, be substantive, be reasonable. And here's another thing he did tonight. He appealed to those conservative voters in his base. His schedule takes him to Youngstown, Ohio. So Youngstown Johnstown, Pennsylvania, an old steel town, a working class part of the state of Pennsylvania. Then he goes to Virginia Beach, where there are going to be military people there. It's not about winning either of those states entirely. It's also about getting his coalition strong, getting the people that are part of his natural constituency to come out and vote. I keep looking away because we're waiting to see if anybody else comes through here. There are some people who think that perhaps Trump he's from Republican. He has the
Donald Jr. Donald Jr. coming right now.
Don, how did you do that next time?
I think let's go here. Basically, a bunch of promises, a bunch of empty promises, a bunch of debt, things that are going to saddle the next generation. And you have to get sick of a different brick. You have like him. You go in there and break up the DC cartel. You get rid of the fraud and waste and abuse that's going on there.
All right, what was the difference between tonight's performance versus Saturday's?
Listen, I think he's just more comfortable when he's talking about these things. He hasn't spent a whole career waiting for a debate like these politicians. You know what he was doing during those times? He was building. He was creating jobs. He was signing the front of a paycheck. He wasn't taking bribes from countries from foreign lands and using it to sell American goods. He was actually creating American jobs. He was putting people to work in this country. And that's what we need to do again. That's what we need to do. That's the dignity of work, bringing that back to the country, allowing companies to bring that money back. Guess what? They're going to raise taxes. Guess what? More people will just go offshore their stuff. They will put it over there. They won't ever bring it back. It'll never be taxed. It'll never go back into the economy. Instead, we could bring that back. We have an opportunity to bring it back. Put it on our shores. Put Americans to work. Let them have the dignity of work. Let them then get their kids a great education. Let them help break that cycle of poverty that's been so prevalent in so many parts of America. That's what I want to see.
You gave a very pro-liberty speech at the RNC. You talked about Congress war, you talked about economic freedom in ways other Republicans are not talking about right now.
Oh, I don't know about that. My only goal
All right. Let's cut and come back.
I want to try and get a question.
Let's cut and come back. Oh, you're gonna try? Okay.
Can we see that way? You tell me.
They create problems that only they can fix. So I love what my father said about term limits. I love what he said about preventing people who are at the highest level of government from then going back and selling America to the highest bidder offshore. That's the kind of stuff that needs to happen. We can't just let government be a way for people to get rich by selling America's future to foreign lands that can't stand us, they can't stand our values. And that's the most important thing I think we can do this time around.
Hey, Don.
I think you did great.
It's gone to Fox Business and now Congress. You can see going on Fox.
Democratic
Donald Trump.
Some of them, they're opening up the gate to the White House over 300 times. Met with the president 47 times. They're talking about inciting violence at Trump rallies, right? They're going out and they're saying, it's disgusting what's come out in the last week. You look at the WikiLeaks, the fraud, the waste, the abuse, the way the other campaign talks about virtually all Americans. Before it used to be just 50%, because that's the basket of them all. Now it's evangelicals, then it was African Americans, then it's needy Hispanics. All these things that have come out. I'm just glad that people really see what's going on.
Question from Eric.
Excuse me. That's what they're doing. That's what they've done their whole life. We have tapes now that came out today or yesterday saying we're busing people from all over. We're breaking the law. We've been doing it for 50 years, and it's not going to stop now. Where's the outrage on that? Where's the outrage on that? They're admitting to breaking high-level people committing fraud during the process. Where's the outrage? Because I don't see it. It's only outrageous if you're a conservative.
I know you believe your father won tonight, but I know you believe this was better than debate number 1, 24 years ago. What does he specifically tell you about this?
I have the same problem. I didn't tell him to change it. You know what? He hasn't spent his whole life to be up on a debate stage like a career politician. He spent his life creating jobs, building things, doing things that would benefit American workers in this country. He's done that for his whole career. So you know what? He's learning. He's learning as we go. Imagine if he was doing this for his whole life, he'd be the greatest politician in the history of the world. Okay? He's learning as he goes. He's a real American. He's been speaking with real Americans from day one. He's not talking at them. He's talking with them. He wants all Americans. Because guess what? Unlike Hillary Clinton, who's gotten very rich being a politician, peddling American interests, this is only. I'm sorry. I was just trying to nag all Americans.
I'm just messing with you. My second choice was Swiss. Oh, no.
Thank you, sir.
Don, will you? If your father doesn't accept the results of this election,
If he loses, will you try and convince him to accept the result of the election?
He'll accept it as long as there's not fraud. But when we see the stuff that's coming out with the Project Veritas tapes today, where people are basically, they are actually admitting, high-level Democratic operators are saying, we've been breaking the law for 50 years and we're not about to change now. All we want is a fair fight. And every time he's spoken about these things, every time he's talked about our horrible trade deals, all of a sudden Hillary Clinton flip-flops because she realizes she's bad. He talks about NATO and how it's been outdated. 2 weeks later, they come out and say, you know what, yes, you're right, we should adjust and adapt to be able to fight terrorism and during the migration, all these things. You know what, every time he highlights something, it makes people look at it. He has that soapbox now, and that's what we have to look at, because we want a fair fight. If we lose fair and square, that's one thing, but if we have fraud, I had a reporter in there say, we should just accept it, even if there's rampant fraud. I said, even if there's rampant fraud? Yes, even if there's rampant fraud, because that's the Democratic Party, and that's what we're getting from the media these days. Literally, a reporter, you just saw it. I've never seen anything this disgraceful in my life. It's really sad. It's really sad, and we got to change it. I'm glad to highlight it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
So, which is not, I don't think, what other people are asking, but Donald Trump Jr. just said to us that, in fact, that he would tell his father to accept the results. He will accept the results if it's fair and square. But again, those are on his terms. It'd be hard to see, and I guess, as Trump said tonight on the stage, even though probably a difficult thing for some people to accept, he's going to have to wait and see, and we're going to have to wait and see if that's something that he would do. But Donald Trump Jr. seemed resolute that if, in that case, they were the results were fair and square, he would accept it. But again, on their terms.
There was a kid on my street when we would play football. Every time there was a play and he didn't complete the pass, he would say, there was a penalty, we have to do it over. We would do fourth down over like 55 times before he was satisfied. This is what it reminds me of.
Yeah, you can't do fourth down over in American politics, but we're having the first conversation about this. But again, that rhetoric on the stage, it's a risky thing, because what it does to here comes Mike Pence.
What are you, French?
Mike Pence right here.
Kennedy! Woo! Kennedy! Baldwin! Woo!
Governor Pence is talking to the media right now.
You want it? You want it?
We have a boom built Fox business will probably go. So let's see how that works.
This is the first time you say it.
Okay, we'll do a break, and if we can get Mike Pence to talk to us, you know we will be back.
Probably a minute away.